Wisdom, the final frontier to true knowledge. Welcome to Wisdom Trek, where our mission is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. Hello, my friend. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, your captain on our journey to increase wisdom and create a living legacy. Thank you for joining us today as we explore wisdom on our second millennium of podcast. This is day 1378 of our trek and time for our Philosophy Friday series. Each Friday we will ponder some of the basic truths and mysteries of life and how they can impact us in creating our living legacy. As we continue on this trek that we call life, sometimes we have questions about life, so our Friday trek is a time where we can ask Gramps. Gramps will answer the questions that you would like to ask your dad or granddad, but for whatever reason, this is not possible. I know that no matter how old we are, all of us would like the opportunity to ask Dad or Gramps questions about life in many areas. We may mix it up a bit on our Friday episodes, but we'll strive to keep them down to earth and enjoyable. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Gramps, please email them to guthrie@wisdom-trek.com. So the question for this week is, Hey Gramps, I don't feel like I've done anything significant for God. I've tried to live a good life, but I just don't see how it matters. I don't feel like I have really contributed or made much of a difference. How can I be sure that what I am doing is having an impact on God's kingdom here on earth? So today let's look at essential versus non-essential. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard these words or words like them. What rips my heart out is that they are often spoken by people who are precious to me and others in God's family. They do things that are sweet, sacrificial, serving, and tender to people when they need it most. Yet because of their acts of service are done quietly or don't seem to be a big deal to them, they think that they don't matter much to God. One of the many positive results from the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic is that most of us will never again view our workforce in the same manner. In fewer than 2 months, it is so evident that many of the essential contributors to our society were previously the forgotten ones. Those individuals who have had little or no formal education and training. The truck drivers, the grocery store clerks, the gas station attendants, the janitors in the hospitals, and those who were able to prepare meals at our favorite carry-out restaurants. These are the essential workers of today, and let's hope we continue to see them as such for many years. Yes, many others who are considered professionals in the medical field have sacrificed even their lives to save the lives of others. They will never be considered in the same light, but as the heroes that they really are. Some of the most critical people in any story go unnoticed and underappreciated. Yet these people are vital to the story unfolding the way it does. Without them, the most important things would never happen. This is true whether a story is a movie, a novel, or our own personal story. I believe that many of you have been on the front line during this pandemic, should reevaluate your impact on God's kingdom, for it is an excellent impact. And this is quite often true of God's story in the Bible. One of the most amazing stories in the Scriptures is the conversion of Saul. Saul was the fiercest, most passionate persecutor of the early followers of Jesus, as described in the book of Acts. Of all the initial problems Jesus' followers had to overcome, Saul was one of the most dangerous and troubling ones. Yet in one event, Jesus turned Saul from the most significant problem to the most excellent spokesman. While it took 14 years for all the details to get sorted out entirely, the threat of Saul's violent persecutions were immediately solved, and he was on his way to become one of the most influential followers of Jesus to ever live. However, I am guessing that you can't remember the name of the most significant people in Saul's stories of transformation. His name usually escapes most folks' memories. See if you can remember it. Saul of Tarsus, known later as the Apostle Paul, was struck blind after an amazing encounter with Jesus on the road from Jerusalem to Damascus. Jesus tells him to go into the city, and he will be told what to do to be saved, given a new life mission, and to receive his sight again. Meanwhile, a well-known follower of Jesus from Damascus is told to find Saul and share the message of Jesus with him. His name was Ananias, and he was reluctant to go because he knows Saul's mission to Damascus is to arrest and persecute people like Ananias and their families. Ananias is assured that Paul is repentant and has been spending the last 3 days fasting from food and water, blindly praying for God's messenger to come to share what he needed to do. So that's what Ananias does. He risked his life and safety to share Jesus, baptize Saul, and help Saul regain his sight. So who is the unknown and essential player in this story? The man who opened his house for the blinded Saul to wait, pray, and fast. The man who was greeted at the door by Jewish temple soldiers and a blind Jewish man who was looking for a place to stay in Damascus, Syria. The man who welcomed Ananias, a Christian who was targeted for persecution, into his home to speak to Saul and then lead him to Christ. Without this man's hospitality, none of this would have happened in the beautiful way that it occurred. And the man's name, do you remember? His name is Judas. Yes, it's not a name that we remember with fondness because of the other Judas. Only a few people might have remembered his name. Luke describes it this way in Acts chapter 9, verses 10 and 11. Now there was a believer in Damascus named Ananias. The Lord spoke to him in a vision, calling, "Ananias." "Yes, Lord," he replied. The Lord said, "Go over to Straight Street to the house of Judas. When you get there, ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul. He is praying to me right now." Here's the point that I want us to get. You may feel like your life doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. You may think that you're not doing anything significant for God. You compare yourself with great Bible heroes like Moses and Esther, Mary and Peter, Joshua and Deborah. And in today's world, you may compare yourself to business leaders, preachers, sports stars, or actors. One of the reasons that we do this is because we forget how important other people are to the life of someone who is a leader or famous. Without all the genuinely essential workers in their lives, they become much less essential themselves. For example, where would the Apostle Paul have been if Judas had not welcomed him into his home and then received Ananias into his house to lead him to Jesus? Many others in Paul's life had a dramatic influence on him and enabled him to do the great things he accomplished for the Lord. Without these essential workers, not only would Paul's life have been greatly diminished, but Paul's work for God would have come up far short from what God had intended for him. So rather than discount your work for the Lord, remember that anything that we do, when it is offered to the Lord and done for His glory, will be used to grow God's kingdom and bless His people. That's why the smallest thing, even a cup of cold water given in the Lord's name, is not forgotten and not wasted. Most important of all, even if no one remembers what you did and can't even remember your name, there is one who remembers and will not forget. And that's a wrap for today's question. Join us again next Friday for another question on our Ask Gramps episode. Our next trek will be Meditation Monday, where we will help you to reflect on what is most important in life. So encourage your friends and family to join us and to come along with us on Monday for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. If you'd like to listen to any of the past 1,377 daily treks or read the associated journals, they are all available at wisdom-trek.com. And I encourage you to subscribe to Wisdom Trek on your favorite podcast player so that each day will be downloaded to you automatically. And thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, but most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal each day. And as we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you on Monday.